The Awakening of Amenhotep, Part 2. Chapter 8, Secrets Beneath the Museum. The Cairo Museum loomed ahead, its grand entrance bathed in the golden glow of the city lights. The imposing structure, standing as a testament to Egypt's rich history, now held an even deeper significance. Within its walls, a pharaoh out of time would take his first steps into the modern world. Amelia pulled into the parking area, shutting off the engine. The team sat in uneasy silence, the enormity of their situation pressing down on them like the weight of the sand that had once hidden Amenhotep's tomb. Marcus broke the tension. So, any bright ideas on how we sneak a literal pharaoh past security? Elena sighed. We don't. We go in through the private entrance. Dr. Hassan still has access, and if we keep Amenhotep cloaked, we might avoid immediate questions. Dr. Hassan nodded. I can call in a favor, but we must be careful. This is sacred ground for historians, and the last thing we need is unwanted attention. Amelia turned to Amenhotep. We'll need you to cover up, at least until we're inside. The pharaoh regarded her for a long moment before nodding. I will do as you ask, for now. Marcus rummaged through the back of the vehicle, producing a long desert cloak used for field expeditions. He handed it to Amenhotep, who wrapped himself in the fabric, concealing his golden armor and ceremonial attire. Satisfied, Amelia exhaled. All right. Let's move. Navigating the museum's private corridors, the group avoided the main exhibits where late-night staff could be roaming. The corridors smelled of aged parchment and ancient stone, filled with relics of Egypt's past, though none as alive as the one walking among them. They stopped before a massive hall, the ceiling towering high above them, lined with colossal statues of Egypt's greatest rulers. Carved eyes of stone stared down, their eternal gaze unwavering. Amenhotep stopped, his hooded form motionless as he gazed at the statues. Then, in the dim glow of the museum lights, he murmured, "Their names endure, yet their voices are silent." Elena swallowed. It's strange, isn't it? To see your people, your era, reduced to exhibits behind glass. Amenhotep's golden eyes darkened. They built empires. They were gods among men. And yet, they are forgotten. Amelia studied him carefully. Not forgotten. Remembered differently. A long silence stretched between them before Amenhotep nodded. Then we shall reshape the memory. A shiver ran down Amelia's spine, not at his words, but at the certainty in his voice. Dr. Hassan led them deeper into the museum, eventually stopping before a large ornate door, far older than the rest of the building's modern design. This section, he explained, is off-limits to the public. It contains artifacts deemed too delicate or too controversial for display. Some have never been seen outside of excavation reports. He turned the key, and the door creaked open, revealing rows of ancient scrolls, artifacts, and relics locked away in time. Marcus whistled. Okay, I take back what I said earlier. This is pretty damn cool. Amelia stepped inside, the weight of history thick in the air. We need to find anything, that mentions Amenhotep's reign. If he was sealed away, there must be records explaining why. Elena began scanning the shelves. We should also look for anything on Apep. If that thing was locked away with him, there's got to be a reason. Amenhotep stepped forward, his hand grazing the ancient texts. The symbols, his own language, stared back at him. His eyes darkened as he read them, his face carved into something unreadable. Amelia noticed. What is it? His fingers tightened around the scroll. They lied. Dr. Hassan frowned. What do you mean? Amenhotep's voice was low, edged with anger. The priests. The council. They told me I was being preserved to one day rule again. His grip on the parchment tightened, nearly crumbling the delicate material. But these records say otherwise. He turned to face them, his golden eyes burning with something dangerous. They did not preserve me to return. They locked me away to keep me from returning. The revelation sent a wave of unease through the group. Amelia took a slow step forward. Then why are you here now? Amenhotep's gaze flickered to the amulet hanging from Amelia's neck. His expression shifted into something unreadable. Because you opened the door. The realization hit like a thunderclap. Elena's voice came out as a whisper. Then, what exactly were they afraid of? A sudden crash from the far end of the archive made them all jump. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the chamber. Marcus spun toward the sound. Tell me that was just an old artifact falling over. The room seemed to darken, shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls. The air grew cold, the same chilling presence they had felt in the tomb returning. Amenhotep's expression turned grim. No. A voice, deep and inhuman, slithered through the chamber. You should not have come. The shadows coalesced, taking form, pulling from the very darkness around them. Amelia's breath hitched. Oh, hell. The curse that had bound Amenhotep was not finished. They had brought it with them. And now, it had found them. Chapter 9, The Curse Unleashed. The room plunged into darkness. The shadows that had gathered in the archive seeped from the walls like living ink, twisting and stretching into grotesque, shifting forms. The air grew heavy, filled with the scent of ancient dust and something more, something rotten, decayed, and hungry. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. This presence, this entity, was the same force they had felt in the tomb. The one that had stirred the moment Amenhotep had awakened. The voice came again, thick with malice, reverberating through the walls. You have broken the seal. You have awakened him. And now, the cycle begins again. A surge of cold wind rushed through the archive, sending loose scrolls flying, rattling the old glass cases. The hieroglyphs on the walls began to glow faintly, as if reacting to the presence, flickering in golden defiance against the encroaching darkness. Amenhotep stepped forward, his golden eyes burning with fury. I was betrayed. Sealed away not to preserve, but to be forgotten. And you would have me remain in chains? The shadows hissed in response, their mass shifting, writhing, growing. From within their depths, two luminous eyes flickered open, cold and reptilian. Dr. Hassan gasped. It's Apep. Marcus took a step back, his hands instinctively reaching for a weapon that would do nothing against whatever this was. Tell me we have a plan. Amenhotep raised a hand adorned with golden rings, his fingers curling into a symbol of power. This is no god. This is a shadow of what it once was, a fragment of the darkness that sought dominion over both the living and the dead. The entity snarled, its mass swirling before lunging toward them. Amelia barely had time to shout before Amenhotep thrust out his hand, summoning a blinding burst of golden energy. The light exploded outward, slamming into the oncoming shadow, sending it recoiling with an unholy screech. The energy crackled through the room, casting long, flickering shadows across the ancient texts and artifacts. Elena yanked Amelia's arm. We need to get out of here. Now. Amenhotep's stance was unwavering, his energy still radiating like the flames of the sun itself. If we run, it will follow. It must be weakened first. The entity lashed out again, tendrils of darkness shooting toward them, but this time, Amenhotep's response was faster, stronger. He brought both hands together, and a shockwave of divine energy blasted forward, striking the shadow and forcing it back against the wall. The hieroglyphs on the ancient tablets glowed brighter, reacting to Amenhotep's power. The entity writhed, its voice turning into an unearthly shriek. You cannot undo what has begun. The cycle cannot be stopped. A ripple of ancient magic shuddered through the archive, knocking Amelia and the others off their feet. Glass shattered, stone cracked. The museum itself seemed to quake, as if struggling to contain the battle unfolding within its walls. Amenhotep turned his head sharply toward Amelia, his eyes burning. "The amulet, use it. Now." Amelia's fingers scrambled to grip the Eye of Ra amulet hanging from her neck. The artifact felt hot, pulsing against her skin, as if sensing the darkness consuming the room. "Think, Amelia," she told herself. The inscriptions. The ancient warnings. The hieroglyphs reacting to Amenhotep's power. A realization struck her like lightning. The amulet was not just a key to opening the tomb, it was a key to sealing away the darkness. "Elena," she called. "Help me find the right symbols, there has to be a counter-incantation." Elena scrambled to her feet, eyes darting across the glowing inscriptions on the wall. "Here. It mentions the Eye of Ra as a barrier between order and chaos." Amelia clutched the amulet and took a shaky breath. "If this thing represents chaos, then we have to reinforce the barrier." She held the amulet aloft, focusing all her will into the artifact. The golden eye carved into its surface flared, and a pulse of energy rippled outward, synchronizing with Amenhotep's own power. The shadow screeched, its form distorting, fighting against the surge of light filling the chamber. "No. You cannot." Amelia and Amenhotep raised their hands at the same time, their powers merging in a flash of golden radiance. The walls of the archive shuddered, the air filled with a deafening, supernatural howl. And then, the shadow collapsed inward, sucked into the amulet like smoke caught in a vacuum. The energy coiled, twisted, and with one final, desperate shriek, it was gone. Silence fell. The only sound was the team's ragged breathing. The air, once thick with an ancient, malevolent force, now felt lighter. Cleaner. Amelia blinked. The amulet was still warm, its surface pulsing faintly, as if it had absorbed something terrible. Amenhotep straightened, his expression unreadable. "The battle is won, but the war has not ended." Marcus wiped a hand down his face. "Great. Just what I wanted to hear." Dr. Hassan, still gripping the nearest intact relic for support, exhaled deeply. "That was, unlike anything I have ever seen." Elena shook her head. "And we're just getting started, aren't we?" Amelia turned to Amenhotep, her grip tightening around the amulet. "What now?" The pharaoh's gaze lingered on the museum around them, on the artifacts, the walls of history that no longer belonged to him. He looked at the sky beyond the shattered windows, at the modern world stretching far beyond what he had known. Then, with quiet certainty, he said, "Now, we prepare for what comes next." Chapter 10, A Gathering Storm. The museum stood in eerie silence, the air thick with residual energy from the battle that had just unfolded. The shattered glass, overturned relics, and still glowing hieroglyphs bore silent witness to what had transpired. The darkness may have been sealed away for now, but the tremors of something greater had already begun. Amelia exhaled deeply, still gripping the Eye of Ra amulet, its warmth lingering against her palm. Amenhotep stood beside her, his golden eyes surveying the wreckage with a mixture of contemplation and determination. This was no longer just about him, the balance of power had been disturbed. Marcus broke the silence first. "Okay. So we survived that. What's next? Because I really don't feel like waiting for the next ancient horror to crawl out of the walls." Elena shot him a weary look. "We need to figure out what exactly we're up against. If Apep's influence is still lingering, we need to know how deep this curse goes." Dr. Hassan rubbed his temples. "And if Amenhotep was imprisoned for a reason, we must uncover who did it and why." Amenhotep turned to Amelia. "You carry the key. But keys do not only open, they also protect." His eyes flickered toward the amulet. "The darkness that was sealed may only be one piece of what is coming." A chill ran down Amelia's spine. Then we need answers. And I think I know where we might find them. They returned to the private archive, where the scattered scrolls and damaged relics lay among the debris. Amelia and Elena carefully sifted through the wreckage, searching for any remaining clues about Amenhotep's past and his imprisonment. Then, under a collapsed shelf, Elena gasped. "Here, this isn't damaged." She pulled out an ancient map, the parchment so old it nearly crumbled in her hands. The symbols etched into its surface were not typical Egyptian hieroglyphs but something older, more arcane. Dr. Hassan leaned in. "This isn't just a map. This is a ritual layout. These markings indicate sites of power." Amenhotep's brows furrowed as he studied the map. "This symbol," he said, pointing to an intricate carving in the center, "is the mark of the Priests of Thoth." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Dr. Hassan's eyes darkened. The Priests of Thoth were keepers of forbidden knowledge, rumored to have access to secrets of both life and death. If they were involved in Amenhotep's imprisonment, then we need to know what exactly they were trying to prevent. Amelia traced the route on the map with her fingers. These locations, they align with known ley lines, points of great energy. If the Priests of Thoth sealed Amenhotep away, they likely used these places to anchor the seal. Elena nodded. Then that means there could be more than just one imprisonment site. There could be more locked away beneath the sands. Amenhotep clenched his fist. Then we find them before the darkness does. Before they could continue their discussion, a gust of wind howled through the broken museum windows, sending loose papers fluttering into the air. The atmosphere shifted, the air growing heavy once more. Marcus tensed. "Tell me that's just regular Egyptian wind and not something worse." Amenhotep closed his eyes, his features darkening. "The storm is not of the sky. It is of fate." A voice, low, serpentine, slithered through the room, though its source was unseen. "You meddle where you do not belong." The shadows around them stretched unnaturally, writhing like unseen hands grasping at the edges of their vision. Amelia tightened her grip on the amulet, feeling its warmth surge in defiance. "Who's there?" A hiss echoed in response. "The cycle cannot be undone." Amenhotep stepped forward, his presence a golden beacon against the shifting darkness. "The cycle is already broken. And I intend to see it remade." The shadows recoiled at his words, a sharp whispering hiss filling the space before the room fell into silence once more. The presence was gone, for now. Elena shuddered. "I don't think it's going to let us go that easily." Dr. Hassan nodded solemnly. "No. But at least now we know what's at stake." Amenhotep turned to the group. "If Apep's curse lingers, then we must seek the truth before it finds us first." Amelia took a steady breath. "Then let's move fast. We have a lot of ground to cover, and not much time." As they gathered their findings, the map clutched tightly in Amelia's hands, they all knew. This was only the beginning. Chapter 11, Into the Sands of Time. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, a canvas of brilliant stars casting their glow over the shifting dunes. The team had left Cairo behind, following the map's ancient markings toward one of the forgotten sites of the Priests of Thoth. The desert air was cool, but an underlying sense of unease clung to the group, the echoes of their confrontation at the museum still fresh in their minds. Amelia gripped the eye of Ra amulet, feeling its warmth against her palm. She turned to Amenhotep, who sat beside her in the vehicle, his golden eyes scanning the landscape with a knowing intensity. "Does this place feel familiar to you?" she asked. Amenhotep's gaze didn't waver. "The stars above are as I remember them, yet the sands beneath them have shifted. Time has not been kind to what once stood here." Elena, seated behind them, frowned as she studied the map. "If this is the site where one of the seals was placed, there has to be something left behind. Some kind of clue." Dr. Hassan, who had been staring out into the dunes, finally spoke. Then let's hope it isn't buried beneath centuries of shifting sands. After hours of travel, the convoy came to a stop. In the distance, massive stone pillars jutted from the sand like skeletal remains, their surfaces worn by time and the relentless desert wind. The ruins of what had once been a grand temple now stood in eerie silence, half consumed by the dunes. The team disembarked, their boots sinking slightly into the sand. Amenhotep stepped forward first, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the ruins. This place was once a sanctuary, he murmured. A gateway between worlds. Marcus adjusted his pack. Let's just hope the door is still open. They moved carefully, making their way toward the largest remaining structure, a stone archway adorned with faded carvings. The inscriptions, though worn, depicted scenes of rituals, celestial alignments, and a massive figure, one wreathed in shadow, opposed by a figure bathed in light. Amelia traced her fingers over the stone. This is it. This is where the priests of Thoth made their stand. Dr. Hassan examined the base of the structure. If the seal was placed here, it may have been hidden beneath the temple's foundation. We need to find a way inside. Amenhotep stepped forward, his fingers brushing against a sunken panel in the stone, his expression darkening. There is a way. But it will not be without risk. As soon as Amenhotep pressed against the panel, a low rumble resonated beneath the sand. The temple shuddered, and the worn carvings began to glow faintly, revealing hidden glyphs that had remained dormant for centuries. Then, the ground shifted beneath them. A sudden force pulled Amelia downward, her breath escaping in a sharp gasp as she and Amenhotep plunged through a collapsing section of stone. Amelia! Elena's voice echoed above as the dust swallowed them whole. The world tilted, then went dark. When Amelia's vision cleared, she found herself lying on a smooth, cold surface, the faint glow of torchlight flickering in the distance. The air was thick with the scent of ancient stone and something else, something old and arcane. Amenhotep stood beside her, his stance alert. This was no accident. The temple still remembers. It tests those who seek its secrets. Amelia slowly got to her feet. They were in a vast underground chamber, its walls lined with massive stone tablets covered in inscriptions. At the center stood a raised dais, and upon it, an object half buried in the sand. Amelia's breath caught. Is that? Amenhotep stepped toward it. A piece of the seal. The artifact was an intricately carved stone disc, glowing with a faint golden light. But as Amelia reached for it, the chamber shuddered again, and from the shadows emerged figures, guardians of the seal. They were not living, nor were they entirely dead. Wrapped in the remnants of priestly robes, their faces were obscured by golden masks, their hollow eyes gleaming with an eerie light. One stepped forward, its voice a whisper of wind and time. You who seek the knowledge of the priests of Thoth, prove your worth. The torches flared, and the chamber became a battlefield. The guardians moved with unnatural speed, their hands raised as if wielding unseen weapons. Amenhotep moved just as quickly, his golden aura flaring, summoning a protective barrier that absorbed the first strike. Amelia dodged as one of the figures lunged toward her, rolling across the floor as a wave of heat surged past her, not flame, but something far more ancient, something that burned without fire. The seal is protected by a trial. Amenhotep called. We must endure it to claim what we seek. Marcus's voice crackled over the radio. Whatever's happening down there, you need to hurry, because the entire ruin is starting to collapse. Amelia turned back to the glowing stone disc. They had to finish this, fast. She lunged forward, the amulet around her neck pulsing in sync with the inscriptions on the walls. The guardians hesitated, as if sensing its power. Amenhotep's golden eyes narrowed. The eye of Ra, it is the key. Use it. Amelia raised the amulet high, and a wave of radiant energy burst forth, filling the chamber with golden light. The guardians froze, their forms flickering. And then, just as quickly as they had appeared, they dissolved into dust. The chamber fell silent. The inscriptions on the walls dimmed, and the seal rose from its resting place, its ancient power now fully revealed. Amenhotep picked up the stone disk, turning it in his hands. One piece recovered. But more remain. Amelia met his gaze. Then let's find them. Before it's too late. Chapter 12, Shadows of the Past. The chamber's silence was fleeting. As the dust settled, Amelia and Amenhotep stood before the recovered piece of the seal, its ancient energy thrumming in the still air. The golden glow of the inscriptions that had once filled the walls now dimmed, as if the temple itself had released its grip on the relic. Amelia exhaled sharply, wiping the sweat from her brow. One down, but we still have no idea how many more there are. Amenhotep turned the stone disk in his hands, his expression unreadable. The priests of Thoth were thorough in their deceptions. If this is one of the keys, then they scattered the others far from each other, ensuring that none could easily bring them together. Dr. Hassan's voice crackled over the radio. We're still getting tremors up here. Whatever you did down there, the temple is destabilizing. You need to get out. Amenhotep lifted his gaze toward the entrance. Then we must move. The ground beneath them shook violently, sending loose sand and debris cascading from the chamber's vaulted ceiling. The walls groaned as though the ancient forces within were resisting their departure. Marcus' voice came through the radio. Hurry up. The whole place is coming down. Amenhotep led the way, his movements swift and precise despite the unstable ground. Amelia followed close behind, gripping the amulet tightly. The energy from the relic pulsed, resonating with something unseen. A deep, guttural growl rumbled through the chamber. Elena turned sharply. What was that? From the darkness beyond the chamber's threshold, figures began to stir. Not the spectral guardians they had faced before, but something else, something wrong. The shadows stretched, coalescing into twisted humanoid forms, their skeletal fingers reaching out as if clawing their way through time itself. Amenhotep's expression darkened. These are echoes of the past. Fragments of those who swore their souls to protect the seals. Amelia's stomach twisted. Then why do they look so broken? The creatures lurched forward, their hollow eyes glowing with unnatural fire. No time for answers. Marcus shouted over the radio. Move. The temple shook with every step, the once sacred structure now a crumbling labyrinth of shifting stone and falling debris. Amelia and Amenhotep led the way, weaving through the collapsing passageways as the twisted guardians pursued them. Elena stumbled on a loose stone, nearly falling into a pit that had opened beneath her. This place is tearing itself apart. Amenhotep pulled her up, his grip firm. Because the seal has been disturbed. Its magic was the only thing holding this temple together. Ahead, the faint glow of the exit was visible through the dust and shadows. But so were the creatures, growing in number, closing in. Amelia's mind raced. They needed an edge. Then she remembered the amulet. She ripped it from around her neck, holding it high. I don't know what you want from us, but we're not leaving without this seal. A pulse of radiant energy exploded from the amulet, slamming into the shadows. The creatures reeled back, shrieking as the divine light seared through their forms. Go. Now. Amelia shouted. The team sprinted the last distance, breaking through the collapsing entrance just as the temple buckled inward, burying the horrors within. They collapsed onto the sand, coughing as dust swirled around them. The ruins settled into silence, their secrets once again hidden beneath centuries of shifting desert. Dr. Hassan helped Amelia to her feet. That was too close. Amenhotep stood tall, his gaze fixed on the horizon. This was only the beginning. That night, the group camped beneath the open sky. A small fire flickered between them, casting shadows against the towering dunes. Elena examined the stone seal, running her fingers over the intricate carvings. If this is just one piece, how many more do you think are out there? Dr. Hassan spread out the ancient map beside them. The markings suggest at least 3 more. Each hidden within temples lost to time. Amenhotep's golden eyes reflected the firelight. Then we must seek them before Apep's influence grows stronger. The darkness has been disturbed, it will not remain idle. Amelia turned to him, her voice quiet. What do you remember about Apep? About the last time you fought him? Amenhotep's expression darkened. Apep is not a mere spirit. He is the essence of chaos itself. He cannot be destroyed, only contained. And if he rises, the world as you know it will cease to exist. Marcus exhaled sharply. Great. So we're racing against the end of the world. No pressure. Elena gave a small, dry laugh. Just another day in archaeology, right? Amenhotep rose, his regal posture unwavering despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. We move at first light. The next temple awaits. And so does whatever darkness lingers within. Amelia watched him for a long moment. This wasn't just about uncovering history anymore. This was about stopping the past from consuming the future. And they were running out of time. Chapter 13, The Oasis of Forgotten Souls. The morning sun cast long golden streaks over the desert as Amelia and the team prepared for their next journey. The ancient map they had uncovered in the museum pointed toward another temple hidden deep in the desert, this time, near a forgotten oasis where lost travelers had once sought refuge. Dr. Hassan traced his fingers over the parchment. If the priests of Thoth placed another seal here, it means the site wasn't just a resting place, it was a barrier. Amenhotep's expression was unreadable as he gazed at the horizon. It will not be unguarded. Marcus sighed, adjusting his gear. Yeah, I figured as much. Can't we just get one of these things without almost dying? Elena smirked. Wouldn't be archaeology if we didn't. As they loaded their supplies into the vehicles, Amelia caught Amenhotep staring at the stone seal fragment they had retrieved. He ran his fingers over the markings, lost in thought. What is it? She asked. Amenhotep didn't look at her as he spoke. The priests of Thoth didn't just hide the seals. They hid the knowledge of what would happen if they were ever brought together. Amelia felt a chill pass over her. Then we have no choice but to find out for ourselves. After hours of driving through the unforgiving desert, the team arrived at the edge of the oasis, where a small, weathered village stood half-consumed by the encroaching sands. Palm trees, their leaves browned by the heat, swayed lazily in the breeze. The air was thick with the scent of water and dust, and in the distance, the temple ruins loomed, partially submerged beneath the sands. They were greeted by an elderly man, his skin like tanned leather, his eyes filled with an unsettling knowing. He approached them with a slow, measured gait. You seek the temple, he said in Arabic, his voice hoarse with age. But the temple does not seek you. Dr. Hassan exchanged a look with Amelia before replying, we seek to recover a piece of history. We mean no harm. The old man's gaze flickered toward Amenhotep, and his lips tightened. The one who walks beyond time, you bring danger to us all. The statement sent a ripple of unease through the group. Amenhotep stepped forward, his tone regal yet calm. The past cannot be ignored. The darkness has already begun to stir. The elder sighed and gestured toward the village square. Then you must speak with the keeper of the oasis. She knows the temple's secrets. The keeper of the oasis turned out to be a woman cloaked in deep blue robes, her face partially obscured by a veil. She sat beneath the shade of an ancient tree, her eyes a piercing silver, like the stars themselves. "You seek what should not be found," she said, without preamble. "The temple you wish to enter has been sealed for centuries. Not to protect its treasures, but to protect the world from what lies beneath it." Elena folded her arms. "We've heard that before." The keeper's eyes narrowed. "Then you do not listen well. The last time the seal was disturbed, the sands swallowed whole villages. Those who entered the temple never returned." Amelia met her gaze. "Then we need to be the first ones who do." The keeper studied her, then turned her attention to Amenhotep. "Pharaoh of the old world, do you understand the risk of what you seek?" Amenhotep's voice was steady. "I do. And I must see it done." The keeper sighed. "Then at least let me show you the way." Guided by the keeper, the team followed a narrow path winding through the oasis, leading to the partially submerged ruins of the temple. The water shimmered, an unnatural stillness settling over it as though time itself had paused within its depths. Dr. Hassan frowned. "There's something wrong about this place." Amelia ran a hand through the damp air. "The energy here, it feels heavier." Amenhotep nodded. "Because it is trapped. This oasis was not just a place of rest, it was a prison for the forces buried below." The keeper stopped at the temple's entrance, her expression solemn. "Beyond this threshold, you are on your own." Elena peered into the darkness ahead. "Great. Just once, I'd like a welcoming ancient ruin." The keeper placed a hand on Amelia's shoulder. "Do not take lightly what you will face within. The past lingers in shadows." Amelia nodded. "We're ready." With that, they stepped forward into the darkened corridors of the temple, the air growing thick with the whispers of something old, something waiting. Chapter 14, The Temple of the Drowned Gods. The moment Amelia stepped across the temple threshold, an eerie stillness swallowed her. The walls, slick with condensation, pulsed with a damp heat that felt alive, like something was breathing beneath the stone. The whispers she had sensed before grew louder, echoing through the darkness in hushed, unintelligible tones. Dr. Hassan shone his flashlight along the intricately carved pillars, revealing figures locked in expressions of silent agony. Unlike other temples they had explored, this one felt wrong. The hieroglyphs were distorted, the depictions twisted into something unnatural. "This isn't like the others," Elena muttered, running her fingers along the carvings. "These figures, they're not worshipping. They're warning us." Amenhotep moved carefully, his golden eyes scanning the inscriptions with an intensity none of them had seen before. The priests of Thoth did more than seal this temple. They tried to erase its purpose. Marcus swallowed. "Well, I'd say they did a great job, too bad we're the idiots opening it back up." As they pressed deeper into the temple, the air thickened, turning almost liquid. Water pooled at their feet, reflecting unearthly shapes that did not match their own. Amelia shuddered. "Why does it feel like we're walking into something's mouth?" Amenhotep touched the damp wall, closing his eyes for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was low, almost reverent. "This temple was not built to honor the gods. It was built to trap something beneath it." Elena's breath hitched. "What exactly are we standing over?" Before he could answer, a low rumble vibrated through the chamber. The reflection of their flashlights in the water flickered unnaturally, the ripples forming shapes, faces. Screaming, wailing faces. Dr. Hassan took a cautious step back. "This temple is cursed." Amenhotep didn't move. "No. It is haunted." At the heart of the temple, they reached a massive submerged chamber, its entrance marked by a door of obsidian and gold, carved with the eye of Horus. It pulsed faintly, as if sensing their presence. Amelia hesitated. This must be it. Before she could take another step, the water in the chamber exploded upward, forming a towering shape, a figure wrapped in shadow and liquid, its eyes glowing like fire beneath the waves. A voice, ancient and wrathful, boomed through the chamber. "Who dares disturb the waters of judgment?" Amenhotep stepped forward. "I am Pharaoh of the two lands, ruler of." "You are forsaken," the entity hissed, cutting him off. "Your kind locked me away, fearing the power of the deep. And yet you come to awaken it." The water coiled around them, tendrils of liquid pulling at their feet, whispering threats and forgotten names. Marcus struggled against the force. "Okay, what's the plan here?" Amenhotep clenched his fists. "This entity is bound to the seal. It will not allow us to take it." Amelia raised the eye of our amulet, the golden artifact flaring with light. "Then we need to break its hold." The moment the light touched the water, the entity screeched, recoiling. The tendrils loosened, the chamber shaking violently. "The amulet weakens it," Elena shouted. Amenhotep moved quickly, placing a hand against the obsidian door, chanting in the language of the old gods. The hieroglyphs blazed to life, the golden inscriptions forcing the entity back into the depths. The creature shrieked, its form unraveling into a storm of mist and shadow before being sucked into the water's surface, disappearing into the abyss. Dr. Hassan exhaled sharply. That was, beyond explanation. Amenhotep pressed his palm against the door. A low, resonating hum filled the air before the stone cracked, revealing another fragment of the seal embedded within. Amelia reached forward, hesitating for only a moment before grasping the ancient relic. The moment her fingers closed around it, a deep tremor shook the temple. The whispers, now angrier than before, rose in a deafening chorus. "The seal is breaking," Amenhotep said urgently. "We must go, now." The team turned and raced through the collapsing halls, the temple flooding behind them as though the very walls were trying to swallow them whole. The moment they reached the temple's entrance, a final explosion of water surged forward, nearly pulling them back into the abyss. Amelia threw herself forward, barely landing on the sand as the temple doors slammed shut, the ancient magic sealing once more. They lay gasping on the ground, staring at the now silent ruins. Marcus groaned. "Tell me we're done with water temples." Elena laughed breathlessly. "No promises." Amelia sat up, gripping the newly recovered seal fragment. It pulsed in her hands, its power undeniable. Amenhotep gazed at the temple with somber eyes. "The past does not wish to be disturbed. But we have no choice." Amelia nodded. "One step closer." Dr. Hassan wiped his forehead. "One step closer to what, exactly?" Amenhotep's golden eyes met his. "To war." A heavy silence settled over them. The battle was only beginning, and the true darkness had yet to awaken.
Every story has an ending, but some mysteries live on. If you enjoyed this tale, don't let it fade into the shadows. Smash that like button and subscribe for more thrilling stories that will transport you beyond the veil of the ordinary. Subscribe to our channel and your name will appear at the beginning of our next video, where we will pleasantly thank you for your subscribing. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the unknown. Share your thoughts in the comments. What twists did you see coming? And what secrets do you think still remain? Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and let the next story begin.